Okay, we're ready? Okay, we are going to call to order the special board meeting of April 26, 2021 at exactly 5 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in saluting and pledging allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's special meeting?
So moved.
By
Linda Porras.
Linda Porras. Is there a second?
Second, Wendy Jonathan.
Seconded by Wendy Jonathan. Is there any discussion?
I did want to say thank you so much, Mr. Griffith, for taking my request since I was unable due to illness to vote on Tuesday, and it had not, a decision had not been made. I appreciate you taking the time and having this special meeting, so thank you very much.
Okay, call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. Okay, public comments on open session items. Just before I turn it over to Vice President Conover, wow, we had 317 written public comments that were given to us on time. Those have been printed up, and there are copies of those outside. They would be available to you by a public record request, but we're not going to make you do that. So if you're interested in reading all the public comments, you could do that. Now I'll turn it over to Vice President Conover.
Thank you. Communications from the floor. In accordance with bylaws of the board 9323, time is reserved for oral communications by members of the Board of Education or by citizens present. Citizens wishing to be heard on agenda items shall have a 3-minute limit and should indicate their intention at this time. In accordance with the law, decisions of the board cannot be made on any matter not previously published before the board meeting, as indicated in bylaws of the board 9323.2. First up is Tiffany Norton.
Good evening. My name is Tiffany Norton. I'm the principal at Dr. Carry-On Academy. I want to thank the board for the opportunity to speak tonight. As we all know, there has been a lot of change over the last year. Our students, families, and staff have rolled with the changes beautifully, and I believe have made the best of the situation at hand. March 15th, 2021 was a day that I've been looking forward to for a full year. The day we reopened our doors to some of our students so they could return to in-person learning. Since we've opened our doors to hybrid cohorts on March 15th, I have seen a positive increase in attendance for students who have returned to campus. Students who had sporadically attended during distance learning have begun coming to school for their 2 in-person days. Now, although that is exciting news, quite a few of those same students do not log in virtually for the rest of the week. Essentially, they're taking a 5-day weekend. As of May 3rd, there will be 24 days left in the school year. Of those 24 days, Cohort A would be on campus 9 days, Cohort B would be on campus 10 days, with 5 days continuing to be virtual on Wednesdays. Combining cohorts A and B would double the amount of classroom time that our hybrid students would have access to. Bringing students back 4 days a week would highly impact the amount of learning loss we can combat as we move towards the end of the school year and look forward to next year. Daily, at drop-off and dismissal, I hear students say how awesome, amazing, or perfect their day was, or how excited they are to be on campus to learn. Students have asked me if they can join Cohort A and Cohort B so they can be at school to learn from their teacher for 4 days a week. Our COMET scholars are excited to be at school, but most importantly, they understand the importance of wearing their masks. They understand the importance of staying in their play zone at recess, following the arrows on the walking paths to stay socially distanced. I cannot begin to express how proud I am of our scholars and staff for their commitment not only to ongoing safety, but to learning. I'll be honest, I've thought long and hard about our true ability to bring Cohort A and Cohort B back safely, based on current cohort sizes, classroom space, safety guidelines, CDPH, etc. I had some reservations at first, but after measuring and setting up an empty classroom to see what a classroom would look like, with our largest combined cohort of 30 students, can honestly say those reservations are gone. I am standing here today to share that I am 100% confident that we can make this happen for our scholars while continuing to maintain our high safety standards and following county and district safety guidelines. I urge the board to vote yes to bringing students back 4 days a week. Thank you again.
Thank you. Next is Alan Lehman.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the board this evening. The impact of a one-year school closure has been profound. Through the Herculean efforts of parents, community partners, students, and staff, we experienced many positive outcomes. DSUSD team members have worked tirelessly this year. For many months, cabinet, departments, administrators, teachers, and support staff wrote and collaborated on comprehensive action plans for the safe return of students and staff when health and safety conditions permitted. DSUSD led the way in Riverside County with the writing and board approval of its COVID-19 safety plan. Every Tuesday, we waited with hope for improved case rates per 100,000 in the county and a declining positivity rate. With improved metrics, elementary schools safely opened on March 15th, followed by middle schools and high schools on March 29th. Due to changing guidance at the local, state, and federal level, plans were written, revised, modified, adjusted, and even though it may have seemed frustrating and required extra work, we did so willingly and with excitement because the end result was having students and staff back on campus. Thank you for giving families and staff the option to return to in-person or remain on distance learning for the rest of the year. This is yet another example of meeting the needs of our clients. Our students are our clients. We should weigh all options and render a decision that is in the best interest of students. Many of our K-12 students have been greatly impacted by the pandemic and school closure. For many, remote learning did not work. For some, it was connectivity. Others had expanded responsibilities at home. Many did not prefer to Zoom, and for far too many students, they did not log on or did so for a very small portion of the day. In addition to the academic impact, the social emotional toll is something all of us are aware of and striving to mitigate. March 15th was an incredible day for elementary cohort A students and all school stakeholders, followed by March 18th when cohort B returned. Staff and students were exhausted, but it was a joyous day and we went home excited to do it again the following day. We successfully put into action the COVID-19 safety plan. Desks were separated in the classroom, plexiglass desk partitions at elementary schools, stable cohorts in the cafeteria and playground, multiple locations for students to enter and exit the campus. Since March 15th, we have honed our site plans, addressed items that arose, and given our assurance that if allowed to do so, we can safely expand to in-person instruction 4 days a week and combine cohort A and B. Does this require additional work? It most certainly does. Are we tired? That can't be denied. Is it in the best interests of kids to return to school 4 days a week, beginning on May 3rd? Undoubtedly, yes. Thank you.
Next is Dan Borgen.
I had to rewrite my speech because both of them took it from me, so I'll try my best. I'm Dan Borgen. I'm principal of La Quinta Middle School. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Bailey, Cabinet. I'm here to represent my middle school principal colleagues. They were so kind, they were going to walk up here with me, but I said, I got this, but I wanted to wave your hands so we know who we're talking about here. All right. So my first thank you is to Dr. Wilson and Mr. Zink. I want to thank you on behalf of the middle school principals for your work you did last week. I think we're all lucky that you two are in the audience, and again, our sincere thanks to you for your great job that evening. So my middle school colleagues and I wanted to have an opportunity to share our perspective at the middle school as far as returning to a 4-day school day. I can tell you with confidence that all of us are ready, willing, and able to have all of our in-person students back for a 4-day week. And at the middle school, and I understand it's different at each level, but I can confidently say that at the middle school, this isn't a big transition. We will have, all of our students will have the same instruction, whether they're at home or in person. They will have the same teachers, the same start and end times. We will have no schedule changes, so it will not be a disruption to our students other than getting on the bus or in the car in the morning on Thursday instead of sitting at the breakfast table opening up their computer. We also are ready and have already begun redesigning our classrooms. Each of us has meticulously looked at our largest class sizes, looked at the capacity of our classrooms, and have redesigned them to fulfill the requirements of safety and social distancing within the classrooms. I know a lot of people are concerned that this is another change for students. We've all experienced a lot of change, and we've overcome it. And I have to tell you, at least for the students that selected in-person learning, coming back 4 days a week is a welcome change that they are ready for. They chose in-person learning because they understood that that was the best way for them to receive their quality instruction. And I think we need to honor that by giving them full in-person learning as they selected. The narrative has changed. I've been a principal for 16 years, and most years I hear, why do I have to come to school? Why do I have to come to school? Shockingly, I'm hearing, why can't I come to school more? And that alone, as a child advocate and a student advocate, hits home to me, and I think I can understand how they feel, because I want to go to school too. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is John Preston.
Good evening. My name is John Preston, and I'm here tonight both as a principal, the proud principal of Gerald Ford Elementary School, but also as a father to 3 Desert Sands elementary students. It is my opinion, both as an administrator and a parent, that it is in the best interest of our students to bring them back 4 days a week for in-person learning. I have witnessed firsthand the positive academic, social, and emotional impact that hybrid learning has brought to my own daughters. For them, in-person learning days have been the highlight of their academic career. Being able to socialize with classmates, interact with their teachers in person brings happiness and joy that is unparalleled. Every morning, my daughters wake up and they ask me, "Can we go to school today, Dad?" With 2 working parents in my household, I have seen how in-person instruction, the instructional piece of hybrid model, better serves my own children's academic and social needs, and how asynchronous work at home can often be a struggle for parents and caregivers. As an administrator, I would like to acknowledge my hardworking and dedicating Gerald Ford staff. They have shown resilience and flexibility throughout these difficult months and have maintained a positive, student-centered focus despite many changes to our instructional models. I can personally attest to all the effort and careful thought that has been going into the safely returning of cohorts A and B together for in-person instruction, while keeping safety protocols and social distancing guidelines at the forefront. I have seen success of the hybrid model in a way which our students have adhered to our safety guidelines, such as wearing masks, sanitizing, and hand washing with little to no issues on our campus. I am eager and ready to safely return to 4 days of in-person instruction, as I strongly believe that bringing students back 4 days a week is in the best interest of the students. I urge the board to vote yes in bringing students back 4 days a week. John Preston, proud principal, Gerald Ford, and a Desert Sands parent.
Thank you. Next is Catherine Silvera.
We are finally here, the last lapse of the pandemic. CDC and the Department of Health have now adopted new guidelines for in-person learning. But instead of moving forward together and gathering inputs from all stakeholders, teachers, classified staff, and parents, the district put forth proposals and changes without the transparency and clarity that we want. We continue to hear from parents with different opinions about this proposal. You should take special notice about the questions they are asking. Parents and teachers and staff want to move forward and increase in-person hours, just like you heard from our principals. However, keeping us in the dark, answering our questions with, we will see, or I don't know, causes us to take a step back and really question motives and plans. So I've compiled a list of questions that I've been asked to share from fellow parents and teachers, especially regarding K-5 schools. We have been told that classrooms have been measured wall to wall and can most likely accommodate class size with 3 feet of distancing. Does this mean some cabinetry and other furniture will be need to be removed? Now, if a classroom is too small for 3 feet and the furniture can't be removed, where will the class be taught? Who will assist in the moving? And if no other spare classrooms can be found, what will happen? With wall-to-wall desks, will this violate any evacuation emergency protocols that require a safe and quick exit in case of a fire emergency? What about in-person lockdown procedures? Currently, snacks are allowed in class because of 6 feet of space. The CDC said 3 feet of space is okay if masks are worn at all times. This eliminates in-class snack time. How does the school site plan to accommodate this? Most lunch areas are shaded to a point. With 3 or 6 feet distance and double the students, how will we make sure that all students have a place to eat out of the midday summer sun? How will pickup and drop-off go? Tuesday's meeting had members of the community come here and say that even with half the students, the traffic situation is worse. How will these procedures change? How will buses work? Will students now have to share the same seat that's not really 3 feet apart? How many days of instruction will be lost in order to add double the amount of desks, change lesson plans again, move furniture, and in some cases move classrooms? This proposal start date leads to 10 more additional in-person instruction days if there is no transition period for the elementary grades. Will the transition period only affect one cohort and they lose out in in-person days? What will be the net total of in-person days? Will parents be able to switch to distance if they don't feel comfortable? But in a distance class of 28, even adding 1 or 2 more students is too much. The new distance classes are already impacted. Will more classes need to be made? The data shows that we are in the falling action of this pandemic story, but that does not mean we need to make choices without regarding those impacted. Transparency allows for an informed guardian. It allows for us to know what to expect and how to be supported. It allows the staff to feel supported as well. It also allows blind spots in the plan to be noted and resolved. When these questions are answered, you will gain some support from the educators and parents, and you will also be able to learn a little bit, earn a little bit more trust that you have lost. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Trina Gonzalez Alisi.
Good evening, Cabinet and School Board and members of the audience. I feel like we're not being heard, first of all. This has never been about not bringing students back to the campus. That is absolutely not what it is about. It's about respecting the process and including us in the conversation to be able to get there. I have said it multiple times, probably every single time I've come up to this podium, that we all want our students back in the classroom. That is a given. That is a fact. We just want it done safely. There are many questions that have yet to be answered, and we also want to respect the process that it takes to get there. I'm going to call your attention to the values of Desert Sands that have been adopted and are down the hallway there on large format display. You value relationships. Well, our relationship, we don't feel it has been valued lately. You value respect. We do not feel respected during this decision time. The fact that it was made so quickly without being able to get all of the questions answered does not sound like respect. Innovation. We value innovation. How about a task force of teachers who are actually in the classroom to be able to give their input on why or why not or what things need to be addressed so that we all are in agreement and we can do this safely. Inclusion. We value inclusion. The association does not feel included in this decision. We felt that it was unilateral and made, there was discussion, sure, conversation, yes, but no input. Kindness. There's a lot of unkind words being spoken from this podium, and that's not you all, but that's something that Desert Sands is supposed to embrace. Equity. Equity goes for students and staff, so we need to make sure that we're hearing all of the voices. Excellence, we value excellence. We want to do all of our planning, all of our execution of those plans with excellence. And that one I truly believe, I've always said I'm a proud Desert Sands employee because I do believe that we are excellent. And then last is service. And we need to make sure that we are serving the students and staff that we represent. I'm going to say it again because it bears repeating. We do also want, everyone wants students back in the classroom. I wish that this never happened. I am hoping to high heaven that we return in the fall with absolutely no restrictions, traditional 5 days a week, in-person learning, like education is supposed to be. Education is not supposed to be phoned in. And students learn a lot better with a teacher in front of them to engage them in their academics. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Madeline Scott.
Good evening. I'm Madeline Scott, a Palm Desert High School freshman. On my first day of high school, my teacher informed us, there are only 2 million minutes of high school. That seems like a lot, but the minutes are slipping away. I came from a small school, and despite earning a prestigious scholarship to stay on that path, I chose to attend Palm Desert High School, where I would be able to earn a quality education, interact with more people, and experience more social opportunities. I have gone to school in person for a grand total of 6 half days. I have lost so many experiences already. The clock is ticking. Nearly 500,000 of my minutes are gone. Students deserve the right to choose whether or not they attend school. I understand the struggles of distance learning for both students and teachers. Grades have dropped. Depression has developed, and many students feel mentally, socially, and emotionally exhausted. I'm here to tell you that face-to-face learning is what students need in order to feel motivated and to thrive academically and socially. I have received a quality education this year. My teachers have been great. However, this disregards how important the social elements of in-school learning provides. I personally feel a void of emptiness when facing a screen all day by myself in my room. I am in a classroom with as few as 4 other students, some of which I'm the only girl present. How am I supposed to make friends in such a small setting? Online, I don't even know what they look like. Envision your high school experience. Crowds of loud students, school dances, football games. Picture high school students right now. I envision a screen, a blank screen, with gray, blank squares. I recall all the times I have imagined the fun things that I should be doing at school instead of being stuck inside. What will I get to tell my kids about my fun freshman experiences? Nothing. But you can change that. Let us go to school together. Not in 2 separated cohorts, not over Zoom. It no longer feels as if this is truly about COVID. Please, represent your students. We aren't asking for normal, but what is safe and fair. Lastly, I wanted to have my English teacher edit the speech, but I couldn't. I only see her in person on Fridays. We're losing minutes. Thank you.
Corey Fitzpatrick is giving his 3 minutes to Kelly Fitzpatrick.
Hi, my name is Kelly Fitzpatrick. I am a Desert Sands graduate. I am a teacher in the district for the past 15 years, and I have 4 children who attend Desert Sands Unified. I have a senior, 2 juniors, and a 2nd grader. As both a parent and teacher in Desert Sands, it is my opinion that all students should be given the choice to be back in person full-time, or for the purpose of tonight's discussion, a return to 4 days in person per the California Department of Health guidelines. From a teacher and parent perspective, I believe that we are here tonight because the district superintendent, the DSTA union president, and the school board have failed the stakeholders. At last week's board meeting, you failed to make a motion to discuss the agenda item to combine cohorts. It was not made clear to the community why the board was either agreeing or disagreeing with the California Department of Health 3 feet guidelines. The board had almost 4.5 weeks to research, visit school sites, and come prepared to discuss this urgent matter. The board was unprepared, as evidenced by unanswered questions to class size and the different hybrid models. This data was, and asking for data. This data was already available to the board prior to April 20th. Your lack of knowledge highlighted your unprofessionalism and lack of integrity as our elected officials. You failed in your duty to make decisions affecting over 2,800 employees and 27,000 students with the lack of discussion. Next, the superintendent failed the stakeholders by prematurely sending out the agenda item to allow students to return to school 4 days per week. This gave many of us false hope that this would be approved. When the board failed to pass a motion to discuss the agenda item, the superintendent failed to inform the stakeholders for more than 2 school days before stating that the motion was not approved. By doing so, teachers were left with the job of having to let the students know. Parents were left having to break the news to their children that their hopes to return to some normalcy was for naught because the school board was unprepared and the superintendent was overzealous. Last, the superintendent, in conjunction with the DSTA president, had failed the teachers and students through the lack of following through with an MOU to ensure this agenda item would be clear in its execution. The DSTA president stated that the MOU between the district and DSTA does not allow for a combining of cohorts. Thereby, she threatened to file a grievance. The board approved for seniors to return, so the threat of a grievance had no relevance with the board's lack of action. The DSTA president argues that one part of the MOU does not allow for the combining of cohorts. However, just above this part in the MOU, it states it will be the decision of the district to transition schools from the distance learning model to a hybrid to an eventual return to a traditional in-person model once county and state guidelines deem it safe to do so. The MOU seems to have contradictory statements throughout its entirety as to when they will follow state guidelines and when the district gets to make the determination versus when it is in consultation with the association. Therefore, it leaves the over 27,000 students without a voice being affected by this poorly written document. The MOU between the district and teachers union states the district will implement to the extent possible a progressive reopening of schools plans. The plan includes beginning the year in distance learning only format for all students. And it should expand the original document to include hybrid and traditional in-person learning. This was agreed upon October 21st, 2020. In addition, it states that the parties will know that COVID-19 is a fluid situation and will agree to review the provisions as necessary. It has been almost 6 months since the 2 parties met to amend or create an MOU outlining what happens beyond the red tier or 6 feet of distancing guidelines, and to devise a plan in response to any changes. The district and union have had a month since the CDPH updated the K-12 school guidance on March 20th, which states a minimum of 3 feet of physical distance between student chairs is strongly recommended. When new guidelines were set, it absolutely should have been a priority for the district and the union to have met during the month to discuss the plan. On April 3rd, I asked DSTA if there was a timeline for when the 2 parties would meet. I was given a response on April 12th by the DSTA president that says, no, there's no timeline for this to happen. It is based on the availability of both parties. As both a parent and teacher in the district, This statement spoke volumes as to the lack of priority that has been given to the teachers and students working towards the goal of a traditional in-school model as stated by both parties. I urge the board to disregard any reference to an MOU that is being cherry-picked to delay moving forward without any attempts by both parties to resolve this issue. I urge the board to approve the combining of cohorts and to require the district and union to meet to create a plan to address all current tiers and to devise a plan for the next school year prior to the end of the current school year, so we are not once again left without a plan. A plan that benefits all parties involved with a focus as our students as the priority. Thank you.
And now it is Mary Cardinal. She gives her 3 minutes to Athena Martinez.
Hello, board members. I'm going to speak as an impassioned parent today, so there may be a little frustration that comes out in my tone, so I'll apologize for that and then get to it. I want to start by stating the obvious. I have an agenda, and anybody who stands up here at this podium has an agenda, whether they say so or not. My argument is with the teachers union, and I'll be taking on their points point by point. Number one, the union survey data was flawed. First, the union president said that 2/3 of teachers didn't want to combine cohorts at the board meeting. Now it's 60% to 40%. That is a 6% reduction. And the survey included distance learning teachers who aren't even in the classroom to vote in the survey as well. Also, let's not forget the fact that teachers could vote multiple times. That alone should disqualify and nullify the results of that survey. Board members, if you were a jury, I'd like you to disregard that evidence on the basis that it is biased and slanted toward the agenda of the leader of the Desert Sands Teacher Association. Number two, at every board meeting I have attended, the catchphrase of the union has been, "until it is safe." We all want to be back in the classroom with students is usually the sentence starter. Until it is safe typically follows. Well, now that teachers got to skip to the front of the line for vaccines and we're in the orange tier and you've admitted we have the proper PPE and we're following the CDC guidelines and Newsom and Biden and Fauci all agree under these conditions we are safe, what more does the union want? The board has often said that our hands are tied. I've heard this at numerous board meetings, but Newsom has untied them for you. So we need to get our kids back 4 days like other school districts have already done. This isn't precedent setting. District administration is telling you that we are ready and it is time. Another union argument is that teachers are too tired to shift their routine once again. This is the one that infuriates me the most. Are you kidding me? What about the restaurants? Just to survive, they had to pivot to new regulations daily. What about the children? What about the parents? What about every single American during this pandemic? Are you telling me that teachers have it harder than the rest of us? I am a teacher, and I can tell you that that is the ultimate privileged view, and it is truly disturbing. So many of your teachers have expressed their utter embarrassment at that being the reason cited at last week's board meeting. And I encourage them once again to leave their union until it is under new leadership going in the direction that supports both students' best interests and their teachers. Teachers Union President is upset by you, Superintendent Bailey, because you put the cart before the horse. No, you didn't. You've met all their demands. It is safe to open. You heard from your administrators and you've heard from parents and students. You did the right thing. So, she's going to argue that kids can't be in class 4 days a week because of a technicality? That doesn't sound like the same person who is always saying teachers want more than anything to be back in the classroom with students. But we all know that that is disingenuous doublespeak. Finally, I want to talk about the why. Why is it important to allow kids 4 days of in-person instruction? And why is it your job as the elected board members to carry out the important mission of this district to educate students? You are the gatekeepers to the future outcome of thousands of students' lives. Thousands. We know that education levels and poverty levels go hand in hand. We know that students of color have suffered disproportionately as a result of the Zoom school experience. And your own F&D data reveal that the Zoom school experiment has been a failure of the education system for so many.
To those who would say that 1 month is such a short amount of time, it's not worth it, to them I would say that as a classroom teacher of 20 years, every minute is worth it. I can teach 10 times as much in person than in Zoom. If it was just a month and doesn't mean anything, then why wouldn't we shorten the school year by a month if these educational days aren't worth the effort? But they are. Finally, if under these ideal conditions you can't get kids back in class 4 days a week, what makes us as parents have any faith in your ability to bring them back full time next year? Guaranteed the union will resist again. Show us parents that you can do your job for our kids. Let's not forget the lost kids, the kids that the assistant principal of Indio High goes looking for every Wednesday. In his news story from our district, he was finally able to locate a student who had the potential to graduate but wasn't attending Zoom class. And why wasn't he attending Zoom class? Because he had to help his younger siblings in their Zoom classes while his parents worked. If he and his siblings were allowed to go back to school 4 days a week, if even for just 1 month, he may have the opportunity to graduate and catch up. And he can't do it unless they're in school in person too. This must be an across-the-board vote to bring students back 4 days a week for all the high school teenagers who can't do their work because they have to help their siblings. And more than that, because in-person education shouldn't be a privilege for the few, it should be a right for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Leslie Cantor, who's giving her time to Faustina Sevilla.
Good afternoon to all. I am also going to edit my speech, and part of it is to commend the young lady who spoke earlier. It is because of you that I started speaking at these meetings. I've cried many times thinking of the injustice that has been done unto our children. And the second thing that I want to say is that someone before that had the audacity of coming up here and preaching something that she was not able to do herself. So you need to revisit and figure out what leading by example is all about. So now I'm gonna start with my speech that I had prepared. I feel some in this group enjoy my presence. Otherwise, there would have been a different outcome at the last board meeting. The events that took place during the April 20th meeting should not be allowed to take place ever again. When bringing such an important topic of discussion for vote onto the table, this group, more importantly the person making the suggestion, should have the decency to make sure that all the other participants understand what it entails. Not only did at least one board member seem unprepared, but not all the board members were present. During the same meeting, much time was spent discussing a program that would help assist our children with their mental well-being. Yet, you turned around and did not fight for that, which would, without a doubt, help achieve this, and it's utterly disgusting and disappointing. It is unacceptable for you to disregard the needs of our children to in-person education and to not grant more than the 2 days currently allotted due to Trina's threats or some teachers' unwillingness to make any more changes due to being exhausted. Trina had the audacity to tell the public while being interviewed the other day that teachers have not taken a vacation. Why is this even relevant? Trina, today you will stop playing games. And contrary to what you claimed multiple times during the last meeting, many of us have no doubt that you've had an agenda since the beginning. Safety measures have been put in place. Vaccines are available, and most updated CDC guidelines state that we no longer need to follow 6, but rather 3 feet guideline inside the classrooms. Data shows that children are not super spreaders, and that when an educator does become infected, this seems to have taken place while attending an outside commitment and not inside a classroom teaching among children. Although some may want to pretend that the most updated CDC guideline will only allow twice the current amount of children per room, I need to believe that with the credentials that this group and educators have, and the fact that prior to pandemic, correct me if I'm wrong, children were about 2 feet apart, all of you previously mentioned can see that this not only doubles the number, but at least triples it. There are just a few weeks, so just let it be. This is the attitude from some educators, and I feel like someone punched me in the stomach every time I read something like this. This has been going on for over a year. These educators are proving that working face-to-face with children is not their passion and can care less about their mental well-being. Because although they may continue to claim how much harder the current teaching module is, many of those, if not all, who are not wanting to return have gotten quite comfortable with the current setting. But no matter how much time is left, a month, a week, 3 days, 4 hours, or a mere second, we need all of you to do what's best for our children because they deserve no less. And any time, however short that it may be, it's worth it. Also, contrary to what some may want us to believe, this undoubtedly will set precedent for how the next school year will look like. If I was on the board occupying one of those seats, I would not have allowed this to have gone this far. I would have fought hard and would have done the job that I was entrusted in doing. For in my heart, the well-being of our children comes first and foremost. I feel that some of you may be trying to do just that, but our children need and deserve for you to try harder. You're here today to make an effort to try and remedy what took place last week, and I am looking forward to all of you doing just that. Today, based on your decision, you will prove not who you are here to, but rather willing to serve children and parents, or union and those teachers that want to continue doing the bare minimum. Today, you must start doing your job. Today, you must stop failing our children. Remember, no child should be left behind. Thank you.
Next is Marissa Watson.
I'm going to start with a quote I came across on the California School Board Association's website. All students and staff need a safe and supportive school environment in order to succeed. A safe school is one where teaching and learning are not distracted. I don't know one teacher here tonight who could stand up and say that each and every student of theirs are in a safe and supportive, distraction-free environment during their distance learning. Even though I tried to provide an environment conducive for learning, for my children free from distractions, while they are at home during their distance learning, they learn best on campus. Being on campus levels the playing field. It's a neutral environment where most children feel safe and supportive in order to succeed. I was at the board meeting last week where a high school principal gave us the statistics of hybrid students' attendance when in person and when online. 92% of high school hybrid students attended in person, compared to 70% of students attending online. That means that 3 in 10 hybrid high school student learners are not logging on during their distance learning. This is gravely concerning, but yet also shows that kids desperately want to be on campus where they learn best, in person with their peers and teachers. Last week's board meeting, we heard about the iReady diagnostics and how many students are testing at least 2 to 3 grade levels below their current grade level. You also passed motions to minimize the amount of credits needed for this year's seniors, as well as change the grading structure for some high school classes, along with foregoing this year's CAS testing. In LA Unified, huge numbers of high school students are at risk of not graduating. If high school students are not supported to catch up quickly, as of March 2021, 20% of the class of 21, 43% of the class of 22, 37% of the class of 23, and 30% of the class of 24 will not graduate. I'm sure our numbers are similar to LA Unified. I saw them last week. Our board decided to lower the bar when it comes to graduation requirements and grading structure. Now is the time to raise the bar and bring back these kids at least 4 days a week. We need to get some intensive interventions in place to combat the learning loss, along with some social and emotional support to address the toll these shutdowns have taken, not only on the children, but as the teachers and staff as well. Children are resilient, but the long-term impacts could be devastating if not addressed soon and on multiple levels. Moving furniture is not more important than our children.
Thank you. Celeste Fieler.
Good evening. Being here again is disappointing. Parents shouldn't have to organize rallies to get students back into the classrooms. Teachers shouldn't have to join them because they are being misrepresented. Having children expressing their feelings towards wanting to go back to school or wanting to continue distance learning shouldn't be discredited. The most heartless way to think is that school's almost over. Just wait, give up. Students in the most desperate situations have been waiting more than a year. The few weeks that we have left is a life jacket they've been waiting for is a life jacket they've been waiting for as they hold on to a sinking ship. Those last few weeks is the hope for a new start come fall. It's the excitement of seeing your friends again, or the teacher that guided you or guided them behind the screen that has been their support for over a year. The walls that have been caving in will begin to spread out again. Most students feel forgotten. It's your chance to be their hero that they desperately need. The science no longer matches the excuses. If we don't get students back for those 4 days, we will be stuck in the same false hope situation in the fall. Enough is enough. Do the right thing for students. Give them their confidence back. Throw them their life jacket and help them back on the dock. Vote yes.
Thank you. Next is Kimberly Hetherington. Can you please put your mask up, please? Thank you.
Good evening, all. Today, I'd like to start off with an email that I got. A really great email. It says, "Hi, Ms. Hetherington. I am excited to say that Noah will be receiving the Student of the Month Award for Room 605 this month. My son, Noah, is in the Special Academic Instruction Room at Amelia Earhart Elementary. He is one of 2 that is currently being taught with a substitute teacher because there are no SAI teachers that have returned to the classroom. However, this email says, I felt it was important to recognize his perseverance with all the recent changes and honor him for how he handled them without melting down. When things got tough or uncomfortable, he adjusted quickly and has been really productive this month." So my message tonight, because I have been here for many meetings, and I am by nature a healer and an empath, and for those that believe in that, awesome, because really that's, I often get misconstrued as an angry parent, and I am just to the core affected by all of this because I have an autistic child who has been through the ringer and a half, and until you have that, you truly do not know what it's like on a day-to-day. I coordinate so many hours just to make sure he's in good hands. And the YMCA was always the ones that were there for us, and they always have been even prior to pandemic. And I truly do appreciate all the efforts that Desert Sands has done to collaborate with them because it has really been a lifesaver for me, not just financially, but to really have the safe environment that he needs. I will no longer be allowing him to attend distance learning, so please check him for what you need to check him, but he will not take any other Wednesdays. My son is fortunate to be 4 days cohorts, but I still fight for the rest of you because it is important. I never knew all of these moms that are part of these crazy green shirt moms, but I love all of you, and I want you to know that our efforts have not gone unseen. There is a lot of hate out there for sure, but there's a lot of public record, and if you really just listen to that, I know every one of you at some point really had some amazing things to say as well, especially Mr. Don Griffith. Like, I truly appreciate the dialogue back and forth because I know where your heart is. And that's where it needs to go back for all of you, because if not, then you're in public vetted positions, and you can be recalled and replaced just as well. And there are a few of you I'd really like for you to stay and to do better. It's our children's needs over the union's wants. So listen to everybody and please do the right thing and vote yes, because they need to be back in person. I will continue to fight this for school choice as well, because that's what needs to change in California. Thank you.
There you go. And next, and forgive me if I mispronounced your last name, Jillian Von Gilder. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not a public speaker. My heart is about to beat out of my chest, but I felt it was super important for me to be here. And it's my first time, so. I'm the president of the PTO at Palm Desert High School. And so as the president of the PTO, I have access to a lot of parents, and I hear from a lot of different parents. And I know that a lot of parents' children are doing well and thriving with distance learning, but I think one of the other moms touched on it. I think those are the parents that are either have one parent at home or two parents at home, and I think that leaves a lot of kids out. The majority of the parents that have made it clear to me that their children are struggling. They're missing the human part of academics. Their children are struggling to connect to their education because they need a more structured environment of in-person learning, having access to not only their teachers and their counselors, but also their friends. As we all know, school is not always about education. We also have to pay attention to the social emotional learning aspect of it. There is so much more that goes into it. Kids need their activities as well as their academics. I totally understand that some parents are not comfortable sending their kids back to school yet, but what is so great about the hybrid model is that they don't have to. Parents that are more comfortable keeping their kids at home can and will, and parents that want to send their kids back to 4 days a week can do that too. Giving parents choices is the answer. We have set up all the safety precautions needed for our kids to be able to go to school and be safe. As our amazing principal, Mr. Zink, said so incredibly well last week, high school has unique issues with college entrance exams, GPAs, AP classes, and so on. We have measured the classrooms, we have planned for this for months, so let's let our principals do what they are so well equipped to do, what you guys have picked them and specifically chosen them to do, which is lead. Lastly, if we follow the science to get into all of these safety measures, we also have to follow the science to get out. So please take a second and listen to what all of these parents are asking you to do. We just want choices. We want our kids to be able to have what they need, which is not always just staying at home and working on school. There's much more that goes into it, and they need to be in school, surrounded by the people that help support them. Because like another mom said, school is not always, it's a safety place for a lot of kids, and they need that. They need to be there where they can be supported and cared for and loved. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the in-person public comment for tonight. We had 317 written comments, and they were 104 wished not to be read, 213 were marked to be read. 139 expressed general support of opening schools, 53 expressed general opposition, and other ones were on miscellaneous topics. So Ms. Conover now is going to, at random, pull out the written comments that wanted to be read. We're going to do 10 minutes for the people that want to open and 10 minutes for the people that want to close. At that conclusion, we're going to stop the public comment and we'll move to the next part of the agenda.
I don't have to read all 300.
No,
That's
you
good.
don't.
Okay, the first one is from Ashley Hobbs. I think bringing back cohorts together would benefit the students a lot more. I learn better when I am at school, and being in person 4 times a week would really help me also feel more prepared for AP tests. The next one is from Kim Christie. I feel very comfortable saying that I speak for many of my colleagues when I share that we were devastated to learn that a return to school on May 3rd did not have a second motion. It is essential that we open our schools for both cohorts 4 days per week. We have closely followed and abided by the safety measures and will continue to do so. We are here because of our students, and I believe that it is our obligation to put our students first. And that is why we chose this profession. Our families and our students have been through enough since March 13th, 2020, and in my opinion, there is absolutely no excuse for us to continue to have our children come to school only twice per week. Their social and emotional well-being needs to be our top priority, and by opening schools 4 days per week, we can continue delivering to them a greater sense of normalcy. We are not giving our students what they rightfully deserve if we don't open our schools. Too many of our DSUSD students are falling through the cracks, as there is a lack of parity with each child's varied circumstances at home. We need to give our students what they are rightfully entitled to, the right to return to their classes together. Finally, the survey that went out to teachers did not truly represent all of us. Please vote for our students, as this is all about them, not about the teachers. Thank you for your consideration. Kim Christie, Washington Charter School, 5th grade educator. Tara Humphreys. In other states across the U.S., including Connecticut, to name one, students have been in person at school 5 days a week. What are the reasons for not opening 4 days a week for the remainder of this short school year, especially when we are in the orange tier, almost moving to yellow? So far, in person has been going well, so I don't know what the risk and concern is. Azure Margulies. As a healthcare worker serving our local community, I feel as if I've had to pull up my bootstraps and help out during the recent pandemic, even though I felt scared and overwhelmed at times. My 2 daughters that attend John Glenn Middle School need to be around their peers and have contact other than Zoom to seek out inspiration through our community to learn. Our teachers need to have the vision to help their students and want better for them. Students learn a lot through in-person teaching, and for now they are thrilled to have those great 2 days a week in class. But that's not enough, not by far. They are behind and want to catch up to their peers. They deserve that. California has gotten plenty of money and support to greenlight this. Our county is in the orange tier. Let's get this done. These children deserve more in-class learning. Thank you. Kristen Truby. I am a hybrid teacher writing in support of our children returning to school 4 days a week. It has been wonderful having the students back on campus. These kids are excited to be there and are beyond thrilled to be able to socialize with their classmates. 2 days a week, however, is just not enough. We need to do what is best for our children, and that is to fully return to school. 4 days a week to finish out the school year is a great start. Thank you. Julie Fleischman. I'm writing this on Thursday Eve, the 22nd of April. My daughter, who is a sophomore at PDHS, just had her 5th in-person day of the entire school year. 5 days in person this entire school year. It's way beyond time for them to be back for, at the very minimum, the 4 half days that are being proposed tonight. My child, like many others, needs to be back in class full-time to be successful. This year has been far from it. Just getting by is what the reality is. We have a small chance of helping our struggling kids get back in the groove and back to making gains instead of losses. Did anyone pay attention to the losses that were presented at the last meeting? Not one of you seconded the motion for our children to return to school for the proposed 4 hybrid days. Despite 2 of our principals passionately pleading with you and answering every question that was put forth, we will remember this. You, the school board, are here to represent our children. May I remind you, DSUSD, from your homepage, our mission, to inspire and nurture every student one opportunity at a time. Our vision, we will be the district of choice to successfully prepare every student for college, career, and life. You are here for our students, not anyone else. Currently, you are failing. Please follow your mission statement. That's all I ask for my child and many others. You should be following the signs just like you have all along. Follow your mission, students first. Veronica Aviles. I want my kids to return to school 4 days. Sofia Jimenez Tramby. As we now know more about the COVID-19 virus and we have learned from the experiences of others around the world, we can say it is safe and imperative that young children return back to the classroom. We did our best, but learning via screens is not as effective for young children as is in-person learning. Before the pandemic, the Pediatric Association recommended no more than 30 minutes of screen time a day. Now my 6-year-old is on a tablet for hours. She is stressed and dreads Zoom time. She's very social and flourishes during the 2 days she is on campus. For her mental health and the developmental and mental health of all the kids, please increase time on campus to 4 days a week. Bringing the kids back will be beneficial for the individual child and for the prosperity of our communities and society as a whole. Veronica Valdez. Hi, I am disgusted with board's decision. The board needs to stop being selfish and start thinking about the mental health of all students. At this person, what difference does it make if they go back to school for 4 days? The board has wanted the faculty and teachers to jump the line for the COVID vaccines, and now that the opportunity has come, we still don't want to come back to school? Scott Burr. As has been shown in numerous studies and repeatedly expressed by the CDC, the emotional damage inflicted on the children by being forced to stay home far surpasses the health consequences they face with COVID-19. Further, the majority of studies show the education received through at-home learning has been subpar. For the first time during this pandemic, the DSUSD board needs to prioritize the needs and well-being of the children. Alma Ochoa. Dear board members, I am a hybrid kindergarten teacher and am in full support of increasing hybrid days from 2 to 4 days a week. I have noticed positive changes in the days we have been in the classroom. Since hybrid has begun, student engagement has increased. I have noticed changes in writing, pencil grip, speaking, reading, and can observe so much more than what I was able to while distance teaching. I also see confidence, joy, relationships between students, and a stronger teacher-student bond. My kindergarten students absolutely love being in school. Their parents tell me that they are sad when they have to stay home on their non-in-person days. If you go to the California Department of Public Health website, scroll to Education Guidance, and click on the K-12 Schools Reopening Framework and Guidance Q&A. You will read this. Resuming in-person instruction is critical for kids, families, and communities throughout the state, and there is growing evidence that the right precautions can effectively stop the spread of COVID-19 in schools, especially in elementary schools. The COVID-19 and Reopening In-Person Instruction Framework and Public Health Guidance for K-12 Schools in California 2020-2021 school year is a comprehensive framework to support school communities as they determine how to implement in-person instruction for the remainder of the 2020-2021 school year. I strongly agree with the above statement. It's not only important for our students, but parents in the community as well. Please reconsider this agenda item. Mrs. Pierce, if you would like more information and data, try visiting, and the website is there. I hope this helps. Respectfully, Alma Ochoa, kindergarten teacher, Oliphant Elementary School. Robert Arias, as best pedagogic practices dictate, learning is best when it takes place in a social interactive environment. It is not good that man, big or small, be alone. Victoria Johnson, allowing only seniors to return to campus 4 days a week is not enough. My daughter is a freshman, and for the sake of her health, mentally and physically, she needs to return to school to learn in person and interact with other students. It doesn't matter if it's only for a few short weeks. It will make the world of difference to her before being off for the summer. Enough is enough with this distance learning. Let the kids go back to school. Frank Flatt, kids have a right to education 5 days a week and ability to socialize and play sports. We as a society have forgotten about our children. I think if we look around and be honest with ourselves, daycare, childcare, and sports that are available do not even have half the conditions schools are asking for. Parents need a safe place for their kids to be while they're at work. Let's take responsibility and get these kids back in school. Leslie Cantor. We all received a letter from Mr. Bailey which implied schools would be opening for all grade levels May 3rd. At your most recent board meeting, very few parents were there to speak regarding this because we all thought it was a done deal. The buzz that went around amongst the kids, the laughter, the excitement, the smiles on their faces, knowing that they would be able to see more of their friends was so exciting for them, not ever knowing that there was a possibility this would not happen. Shame on you for sending out an email letting parents know we would all be going back May 3rd. The schools have been prepared, and with all the kids on distance learning and the 3-foot rule, there's no reason you cannot combine the cohorts for all grade levels. I am so happy that the seniors can finish out their month, not year, but month, and going for half days. But that being said, this should be for all ages, all grades, and if you don't, what is our fall going to look like for these kids? Jean Pollard, in fairness to those that chose distance learning back in the fall, without having the benefit of knowing what the pandemic parameters would be in the spring, I think they should be offered the option of returning to in-person learning as well. I also feel that those students that are not attending or completing any work in the distance setting should be encouraged to return to in-person learning. Thank you for your consideration. Marco Celedon, this year's been difficult in many levels for all. Our concerns are valid. Give us the option to have our students attend in-person classes or remain in remote sessions. Continue the testing and monitoring of students. It's a great feeling for our students to see our progress towards normalcy. Some of our kids are able and willing to be vaccinated and are able to contribute in their way towards getting back some normalcy. Normalcy, as we all need it, and our kids should be given that option as well. Those are the yeses. Oh, yeah. Emma Harper.
Hi, my name is Emma Harper, and today I shall be not representing, but I come from Monroe Elementary School. I think we should go back to school because I think the students can get a better education when the teacher is actually interacting with them. And, well, a lot of people said this, that I think we should do what's best for our students. I don't really have students personally. I am the students. So I agree with you that we should probably be doing the best for the next few weeks we have left of my school year. And I just really enjoy the teacher actually being able to feel the teacher, like it not seeming to be an abstract noun, instead of the teacher being a computer, which sounds weird. And I also have a best friend in cohort B. Her name is Alexandra Acosta, and I just really miss her, and I think I want to see her again, so that's really all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And these are the opposition. Yeah, okay. The first one is from Esteban. I would like you to reconsider sending kids back to school for 4 full days. As we are getting over the hump of COVID, we are barely getting used to this schedule, which has changed my schedule at work to accommodate drop-off times for cohorts. Grandparents have switched their schedules too. I can't imagine how hard this must be for single parents or parents who have service industry jobs. After the 26th, if you vote yes, I am supposed to just get in line by May 3rd, all for only 24 days. Also, the poor teachers are going to have to scramble to get kids all in one place safely. We have made it a month, and I've heard of one COVID case already at my child's school via email. And that is one case too many. Let's not jeopardize our teachers and administration's health. Not everyone is vaccinated yet. When I chose the hybrid model, I chose it due to smaller class sizes. You are taking away that choice I made if you go back 4 days with larger class sizes. Thank you for your time. Susan Lemos. With less than a month left of the school year, it seems this is nothing more than a political move. Students have had to make adjustments from distance learning to hybrid, and now the classroom will have to go through another adaptation. This really isn't going to add to the benefits for the student. If we are returning to school for our children's mental health, then keep them 2 days a week until next school year. They have already had too many changes. Let's make this decision about them and not about parent convenience. Thank you. From Dolores Delgado. Alicia Leduc. Hello. I, as a parent, am not in favor of returning to 4 days. I understand vaccines are more common and the numbers are going down, but we only have a few weeks left and the constant changing can be just as disruptive. Also, do we really know it's safe to combine them all together? Are we thinking of the teachers and students or just extra funding for the school? Teachers should have a say. They have been through enough this year. The school only has a few weeks left. What is this really helping? This is from Charles Eaton. It is high time the school board start using time wisely. There is only a month of the school year remaining. This has been a very tough year for everyone, and it is time for the school board to use some common sense. With such a short time left, it seems unfair to disrupt parents and students any further. Let's hope we can get back to normal class schedules in the fall. I say let's stay on the 2 day a week for the remainder of the school year. Thank you, Charles Eaton. As a side note, I have children at both Washington Charter as well as PDCMS. David Sanchez. At this time, and considering the number of days left in the academic calendar, I do not believe it is a wise move to do so. Our staff has done an amazing job at making the hybrid model work for our students and families. We have all worked diligently to ensure that this model is a success for all involved. My concern is throwing yet another method of instruction for our staff, in particular our educators, to implement with the number of days left. What will the class sizes look like with the number of students in a classroom? What will the distance per desk look like in a classroom? In my discussion with fellow educators, they would just like to continue as we are currently doing and start the new academic year fresh and ready for in-classroom instruction. I respect the hard work of our school board. It has been extremely challenging for you as well as you have had to make difficult decisions during this pandemic. Thank you for the opportunity to express my thoughts. Lee Wolf, please don't do this. This affects working parents severely with no after-school care. It puts tremendous burden on our kids getting home from school because the release time is ridiculous. It's like the planners have no idea that some families, both parents work. We will probably have to enroll them back to distance learning full-time. Last thing, for 1 month, really? Why bother? Just leave as is. Esmeralda Nunez Astorga. Good evening, everyone. As a senior from Shadow Hills High School, I strongly believe that combining all grades is a bad idea. I say this because it would increase COVID cases, which will affect everything and everyone, especially the senior classes who have been wanting to come back on campus after 1 year of doing distance learning. I have talked to a few of my friends who also agree that it's a bad idea. We agreed that the district should only combine the seniors because we can all be together before our graduations happen and we all go our separate ways. I hope you take this into consideration. Thank you. Deanna, and I'm sorry I'm mispronouncing it, Druat. As a parent and a retired elementary teacher with the Desert Sands Unified School District, I feel very strongly that elementary students should remain on a hybrid model with 2 days in person and 3 days distance learning. Our elementary students are finally just settling into a new routine after being off campus for over a year now. They are adapting to new teachers, new schedules, new friends, and new routines. Young children need consistency and a regular routine to thrive and learn in a classroom environment. They also do not learn very well in overcrowded classrooms with one teacher in place. With less than a few months left to go, please allow our elementary students to remain on a 2-day hybrid schedule for the remainder of this year. Hopefully, they will be able to go back to in-person learning full-time for the upcoming 2021-2022 school year, and things can get back to normal once again. Paul Rodriguez. A 4-day-a-week schedule is a dangerous experiment. Since our return to hybrid learning, I've witnessed protocol and guidelines ignored daily. Unfortunately, they are not a priority for some parents or for some parties. Some of the teachers and students take COVID-19 and the over 570,000 U.S. deaths seriously, and some do not. You're asking for these two groups to commingle more if this vote to combine cohorts passes. In practice, this is unfair. This is particularly unfair to us paraprofessionals. According to the latest CDC guidelines, 6 feet distance remains a vital element of remaining safe from the deadly COVID-19 virus. K-12 staff will not always be able to maintain 6 feet of distance between themselves and students. This issue may be of particular concern to paraprofessionals who have close and consistent contact with students with disabilities. These staff are considered to be in the same general risk category as direct service providers. In these cases, additional steps must be taken to ensure the safety of the staff and the students by reducing the likelihood of COVID-19 spread through adopting additional control measures. Those steps include physical barriers, reduced workloads, relocating workspace, among others found at cdc.gov. I'm asking from a paraprofessional's point of view in a high school setting that paraprofessionals be afforded the same options as teachers and students, choice. Currently, parents are in control of their students' safety by choosing distance learning or hybrid. Currently, teachers are in control by choosing to remain behind plexiglass and at least 6 feet from students, as well as remaining in a single classroom. In contrast, we paraprofessionals travel from room to room and sit with the students. I know you must see the inequality here. All are in control of their own risk, with the exception of the paraprofessional, yet we face the highest risk according to the CDC. I urge you to vote against the 4-day-a-week schedule. Thank you. I teach 5th grade at Kennedy Elementary. This is Don Ross. I would love to have my students 4 days a week. I currently have 17 in cohort A and 16 in cohort B. Unfortunately, I cannot fit 33 desks 3 feet apart in my classroom. That means some students would need to change classes for the 3rd time this year. Please take into consideration the disruption to the students. Pamela, Board and Cabinet. We have been united in the fight against the spread of COVID for 14 months now. However, testing has been a concern. When in the deep purple, purple, and red tiers, asymptomatic testing was supposed to be completed for students. Then it was changed to allow for parents to opt their children out of testing. Then it changed to require parents to opt in. And DSUSD did not make it convenient. You scheduled testing on non-school days, requiring parents to bring in students for testing. At one board meeting, you were hopeful students wouldn't need to be tested and discuss how much money you would save. What % of our students are actually coming in on their non-school days for testing? Parents who are demanding we return, have you been taking your students in every other week for testing? Many of the students testing positive are found not by our screening, but by parents taking their children to other locations for testing after they find out that they have been exposed. Perhaps after they have been inadvertently exposed others. Children are often asymptomatic but can still spread COVID to their classmates, hence the purpose of asymptomatic testing. Our numbers in Riverside County are increasing again since schools opened in person. We are at 4.5 cases per 100,000 today, most likely returning to red tier tomorrow. Looking forward toward next year, there is a light ahead of us, leading back to more in-person learning. Instead of pushing students back into crowded classrooms where many are not able to maintain social distancing of 3 feet, as recommended by the CDC, only to disrupt classes once again and to only gain an additional 10 days of in-person instruction. Let's stay the course and maintain the safety procedures we have in place. Why don't we join together and focus on decreasing class sizes for the fall to allow for the 3 feet of distance between students in all classrooms? Pamela Point, Bermuda Dunes. I have Brenda Martinez. I feel that students should remain in their current schedules and not increase it to 4 days. Parents have rearranged their work schedules to make hybrid work and now again will be forced to figure it out. Additionally, most schools start at the same time and don't allow for early drop-off, which can make it basically impossible to get all their children to school on time if they go to different schools. For example, I have 4 students that go to 3 different schools, one in La Quinta, one in Bermuda Dunes, and one in North Indio. La Quinta and Bermuda Dunes both have a start time at 8 a.m. and cannot be dropped off earlier than 7:50 a.m., and North Indio starts at 8:10. There's no way for me to get all my kids to school on time. Further, some schools are not offering after-school care, and parents have to figure out pickup, which may be in the middle of the day or early afternoon. I feel it's unnecessary to burden parents with all these changes, especially since the year is almost over. If a 4-day school week is approved, parents should be given the option to allow their kids to do virtual learning those extra 2 days. Tara Kennedy, I suppose I've been blessed that both of my children are in the same cohort. I can't imagine what parents do if their children are in A and the other in B. I have a child in high school and one in elementary. If only high school goes back and elementary does not, why would the board put me as a single parent in the position as to which of my children's education and attendance should I put first over the other? You see, when dropping off and picking up my high schooler from school, my elementary school child has to be on Zoom with his classes. Will the district be providing us Wi-Fi in the car to support this change? Or will the district be providing childcare so that my elementary school-aged child can stay home to participate in his required Zoom? If elementary students combine cohorts, my child's class would have 32 students in it. Can enough desks being 3 feet apart fit in classrooms? My goal as a parent to 2 DSUSD students this past year has been survival. To keep pushing and pushing to make it that goal of June 4th. We are so close. Please keep things the way they are till the end of this school year. I beg you.
Thank you, Mrs. Conover. Now we will move on to Section 6, General Functions Superintendent. Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, President Griffith. Just a few comments before the board entertains this motion. First of all, notification regarding the board's consideration of a future agenda item is consistent with the past practice during the pandemic. Due to the weight of the topic, it's truly meant to engage the community in the process publicly before the board makes a decision. Therefore, they're fully informed. That's the entire reason why I push out those communications stating that the board will consider a proposal on such and such date, provide your comment here. That's fully meant to engage the community, and obviously it's working. So I thank you for being here, and I thank everyone that participated online with the over 300 comments. The proposal I placed before you tonight, board, is based on the following supportive factors. Specifically, the proposal is consistent with legislative intent, and I quote the legislative intent as of March this year. It is the intent of the legislature that local educational agencies offer in-person instruction to the greatest extent possible during the 2021 school year. This proposal also is consistent with the recent and updated guidance from CDC and CDPH, which requires the minimum required physical distancing between students from a recommended 6 feet now to a recommended 3 feet. This proposal is consistent with the board charge to return students to in-person learning when it is safe to do so. It is also supported by the declining COVID-19 case rates in the county. It provides the least amount of disruption for the 63% of current in-person hybrid learners by simply combining cohorts A and B, again, without changing the instructional schedules each day. It also builds off the district's low incidence, as you've heard in recent reports, of COVID cases since we began hybrid learning for elementary March 15th, and secondary soon followed, March 29th. And I thank and applaud all staff, students, and parents for their partnership in providing those safe environments so that we see these low incidents. And this proposal recognizes the availability of vaccines for staff, and lastly, it's a natural step, in my opinion, toward the anticipated full 5 days of instruction this fall. So with that, I'm offering you a recommendation to support this proposal.
Is there a motion to approve 6.1 in-person learning schedule?
So moved. Hannah Conover.
And I'll be seconding Wendy Jonathan.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yes. I want to apologize for the community at large because I wasn't able to attend our full meeting last week. I do want to tell you that I went to the hospital. I had nurses, doctors, and technicians working over me. At no point did any of them walk away because I didn't have a mask on. And they took care of me and made sure that when I walked out, I was better than I was when I walked in. This has been a disruption. It was a disruption when, out of the blue, COVID appeared, and we had students in class, and all of a sudden we had to close the schools. And we asked our teachers to pivot and do some kind of distancing with our students. And it was a challenge for them because it was different than anything we've experienced. And then we finished the year out, and we had another disruption again, because no longer did we say, whatever you were doing before at the very end of the school year, that wasn't good enough. We appreciate your efforts, but now we're actually going to educate you, and we're going to educate our students, and we're going to be doing distance learning. And that was a challenge. And that, again, was a pivot and something totally new. And I appreciate that. And then we had the disruption of going from distance to hybrid. And that was, again, a disruption. And I want to use, instead of a disruption, I want to use the word change, because change is inevitable. And this has changed us. This has changed us as a world, a community, and a district. And in some ways, the change has benefited us. We've learned a lot about ourselves and our capabilities, and we have new takeaways. In some ways, there have been not so good things. I've lost family members. I've lost very close family members to COVID. So I can understand all the feelings that everybody's listening. But ultimately, and somebody stole my line, apparently somebody that wrote a letter in, I wanted to review my mission statement. As a school board member, I have one responsibility. My mission is to inspire and nurture all students, one student at a time. My focus is the students in this school district and making sure that I do everything possible. And my job is the what. And what do I mean by that? I set policy. I set vision. I say, hey, I want devices for all of our school students, all the students in our school district. I don't do the how and the do. I don't go to the grocery store or go to Walmart and pick up the devices. I don't tell them what devices to do. We hire, my only employee is Superintendent Bailey, who, by the way, you are fortunate to have a stellar superintendent. And by the way, he's the only remaining superintendent right now in the Coachella Valley that hasn't left during COVID. And we've had so many superintendents I sit on a state board, leave in the Riverside County and in the state. And he's been sticking it out, and he's done an incredible job keeping us informed and keeping us up to date on every single thing. He's been amazing. And I want to commend my staff as well, our staff as well. They're not my employees, they're his. But the cabinet, our principals, our directors, for working tirelessly. And don't get me wrong, I do appreciate all the work that our teachers and our classified have done. But ultimately, our job is not how or do, it's what. And what is the most important thing to do for our students is the what to open up 4 days or open 2 days. And my belief is the what is 4 days. Our students, I was an educator for 25 years, and guess what? Every minute makes a difference. I remember finishing a school day and saying, if I only had a few more minutes, I could have done this. And if I had 4 days with students as opposed to 2, it would make a difference. And I did visit schools prior to the vote on Tuesday. I'd visited elementary schools. I had visited Mr. Zink's high school, and I visited Palm Desert Charter. I saw what it looked like before the meeting Tuesday. And since then, I've gone to every single high school in our school district. I've gone to every single middle school in our school district, and I've visited 10 elementary schools. And I will tell you, every single school is ready. They're all prepared, they're ready. I didn't ask, some of them pulled out rulers and measuring tapes, and I told them to put away because that's not my job. I'm just asking to look at it so I can assure the public that we are prepared, and we are prepared. And ultimately, this is about our students. And 2 people said 2 lines that I'm going to steal, and I have to tell you. And by the way, we have a school of choice. If anybody does not feel comfortable going into the 4-day hybrid, they have a choice, because our district, thank goodness, has choice. And you can choose to have your child not do the hybrid 4 days, thank goodness. So we have all those choices and all those things lined up. But 2 people said items that I think are worth repeating. When Dan Borgen, the principal at La Quinta Middle School, said that one of the students said, why can't I go to school more? And I will tell you, there's nothing like a face of a group of students going to lunch during hybrid in elementary school and watching them take off their masks 6 feet apart and their faces glow. And I literally was brought to tears watching this. And finally, a parent, I think a green shirt parent, said, education should not be a privilege for the few, but the right of all. And right now, it is the privilege of the few. And if we want to create a larger equity gap, then we should keep to 2 days. But if we're really putting our students first, which, by the way, again, is our mission as board members, then we should be voting yes. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Linda, do you want to Trish?
well-
Linda, go ahead.
That's a hard act to follow. I do agree with a lot of what Wendy says about the mission of the school board. And I was, before the last meeting, I did not get to visit the schools. I was not aware till we got the letter that it was being proposed. So when I got the letter Thursday or Friday, when you all did, people chastised me for wanting data, and I do believe our business is the what, but I also want to go personally and visit the schools and just look at what this new spacing looks like, because I'm a parent that would say when I walk in the room, I thought it was 3 foot from edge of chair to edge of chair, but then I learned that the CDC measurement is different. So I was glad to get that information on Monday, that it's the middle of the back of the chair to the middle of the other back of the chair. So having known that, I was able to envision, oh, more of these rooms are possibilities. Many of our schools were built during a time it was 20-1, and some of them have very small classrooms. And I find that had the principals actually known, or maybe they did, that this next step would be taken in this school year, they possibly could have not let cohorts get as big as they did. I visited the classroom with 33 at Kennedy today in the 5th grade classroom, and it won't fit 33. But according to the principals, they were told they could add people from distance learning to hybrid as they could. So if we had been given some choice as to say, like, limit it because we may be combining, then that might have helped. But overall, when I visited middle and high school, they have no problem, and theirs is a very easy transition. Those teachers teach synchronously, and the kids can choose to come 2 days and not come on Thursday if they have to help with a younger sibling or they can't come, and they get that choice. They can be in or out because the teacher is teaching to everybody. The elementary was the real concern if there were so many kids and the sizes of these classrooms. So I am not there to be a measuring person actually, or do a job that our cabinet and our principals do, but I did want to see what I'm voting on and see what I'm talking to. So if you say I was unprepared on Tuesday, I did not have all my information. But now, in the past week, I've visited many schools. I visited 3 high schools, 2 middle schools, and many elementary schools, and I see that it's doable. The kids I've seen are very anxious to come back and love it. They think, the high schoolers think, they can get more done, they can focus more, and this kind of thing. But there are several classrooms, I'd still say 4 or 5 high numbers in the district and elementary, that might have to go to a different room. They don't have another teacher to go to. I don't know what this high one is going to do, but I think things can be worked out. And I just wanted to say that I am very, as a retired teacher of 30 years, in this district as well, I want to see the kids back in school, and I always have. And this pandemic has definitely upset our lives and caused a lot of changes. And so I do want to say that I appreciate all the efforts that the teachers have put in, that the students have shown in their efforts to do the best they can this past year, and all the staff that have worked to make this work this past year. It has been a difficult year, and we can pray and hope that the end of this year we can start out our new year having things in our new normal, or back to what the kids and everybody expects and what the families need. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for all showing up and for being here. And Emma, I'm so glad that you stood up and spoke. That was just, like, touched my heart. So awesome. You did an awesome job. I have been praying about this and struggling with this for a week because I do care about our staff, our teachers, our principals. But me, ultimately, its bottom line is the kids. And our kids deserve whatever amount of time that they can possibly get. I mean, on one hand, you can say, well, there's only 19 days or whatever it is, 19 days left, and you can say, oh, it's 19 days, let's just finish it out, just keep it as is, or you can say, there's 19 days, and they've got, they have missed so much, and it's like if we can safely, I know we always talk about that safely, we've got everything in our corner to open, why not? Why not have our kids back for the 19 days? So for me, that's it for me. It's the kids. And I really appreciate you parents being here. I appreciate the teachers and all the hard work that you do. And I agree with everything that Wendy said. I was like, man, that was awesome. And anyway, I just, it's all about our kids, and our kids need this time. And God willing, we will be able to be back full time in the fall. Let's do this. So anyway, thank you so much for being here.
This is a discussion that I wanted on Tuesday. So thank you to everybody for giving me the discussion. And it is a discussion. And we've heard both sides. I've received countless emails that I still haven't gotten to respond to all. I know Mr. Bailey has, if Mr. Bailey responds for all of us, then that's the response that he'll get, because otherwise it'll be a while. Now, I do want to talk about this decision. There is no wrong decision. Both sides are correct. Should we open up for the students 4 days a week? Yes, absolutely. Should we take it slow and try to figure it out because of the elementary school? Absolutely. I actually talked to a high school principal, and yes, they're ready to go. However, they get out at 12:30. And I said, can you keep them here all day? It wouldn't be safe, is what I was told. And logistically, it would be very hard to do. But yet I look at elementary, who's there all day. So, I mean, it's either safe for everybody or not safe for everybody. I spoke to a parent, and I'm talking about both good and bad, because we do need to look at both sides. I talked to a parent the other day, and she says, whatever you guys decide, can you make them all be the same? She says, because I feel like I'm in a taxi all day. My one student gets out at 11:30, the other one gets out at 12:30, the other one around 1:45, 2 o'clock. She says, I'm constantly picking up kids. She says, and I thought my high schooler needed more help, she says, than my third grader. They're getting ready to go to college, but they're only in school half day. So the intervention that everybody was talking about, the presentation, that was a presentation that I requested as a board agenda. I've been, I think for the last couple of years, intervention. And in any component of intervention, one of the most important things is a small group. How many times have we heard parents and teachers ask for small group intervention? This is also an opportunity and I'm talking primarily elementary right now, because a high school and middle school, there will be no change for them. The kids can choose to come in, they can choose to go online. That is wonderful. There will be no change. The people that will be bearing the brunt of the change will be elementary. And I was talking to a principal. She says, well, the 6 feet is still in session. It's still in effect, so I'm going to have to put kids under the trees in the grass to eat. And I says, wait, didn't you just tell me you were having ant problems? She's like, well, yes. I said, okay. So I'm sure we'll hear about that. But as far as intervention, one thing I was thinking is, okay, elementary is already there full day. Can we take these small groups and do intensive intervention for the next 19 days? That's an option as well. So in reality, ladies and gentlemen, there is no wrong answer here. And it is, as one principal told me, you have a moral, ethical dilemma. There is no wrong answer. Both are correct. And I would like to vote last. Okay, good. Then I'll do it. All right. Just double checking because it's a hard decision, and to the end, I will be struggling with this because there are so many inequities as how we're treating elementary and middle school, and middle and high school. Not just from the amount of time in the classroom, if our children really need to be there, are we doing a disservice to the middle school and high school? Are we, the 3 feet, you are correct. It's not actually 3 feet from my desk to your desk. It's from my nose to your nose. And when you were coughing, Mr. Griffin, I kind of moved over a bit, you know, so.
Joking.
Yeah, okay, all I heard was coughing and going, oh. So it is difficult in the elementary. So I do see the realities, both the good and the bad. And it saddens me that during this whole thing, we pitted each other against each other. You know, we did not disagree respectfully. It was a you versus them versus us. And that was distressing. We say we're a family, and there's good and bad in every family. But I think we can all agree to disagree respectfully. And that was very disheartening to see, because we are modeling our behavior to the next generation. We are modeling how we talk about people, how our students, our children. I had to read that. So, just letting you know. Those are my thoughts. Thank you. But I am glad to have gotten this discussion because I think every decision does deserve the discussion. For those that were wondering why the second motion was not seconded by myself, it was because the agenda item was TK12, and I wanted to discuss like we did today. Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank, I was going to call you Scott, but I'll call you Mr. Bailey. I'd like to thank Mr. Bailey and the cabinet for all the work that they've done. Sometimes I think people don't appreciate the work that they're actually doing. When these concerns started coming up and we were talking about a special board meeting, I called Mr. Bailey and I said, look, what I really want to see is I want to see what 3 feet apart looks like. And instantly he sent me the picture of the boardroom that he said the cabinet, Mr. Aquino, had set up so we could have a visual of what 3 feet apart looks like. At the beginning of this COVID, back over a year ago, nobody asked us for a vote to shut down. We were ordered by the state of California, California Department of Health, that we would shut down, and we were given a time, and we shut down. And since that day, it's been my goal to open us back up to full time, to get the students back as normal as possible. Personally, I don't possess the wisdom required to balance the concerns of everybody in this district, to balance the concerns of students versus students, parents versus parents, teachers versus teachers, parents versus teachers, students versus teachers, parents versus students. I wish I was that person, and if I was, I would be a very happy man, but I don't possess the wisdom required to balance those concerns, and it's what we're required to do as we sit here. So I can't balance those concerns, so all I have to do is go back to what education taught me, and that is to look at the facts. And like I said, we were told to close down, and we closed down. And since that time, we've been inching our way back to normalcy. I checked, COVID doesn't care about Desert Sands calendar. Okay, they don't care if there's 20 days left, or 50 days left, or 2 days left. So I'm not consulting with COVID on what we should do because it doesn't care. What we have to go on are the facts, which says it's safe. The state has given us an assembly bill that was passed on March 5th that said it was safe to go back to school. They gave incentives for us to go back. We've gone from purple to red to orange. I got my Perez post from our supervisor, Manuel Perez, who let me know that theaters will be opening and all the things that people consider normal will be opened, and we haven't opened the schools yet. So we have to follow the rules that we did to shut, and we have to follow the rules to get back open. I've read the MOU. I read it today again. I've read the letters from our attorneys. I've read AB 58. I read the agenda. I read the letters. This is a hard decision to make, but we're going to make it with the wisdom that we do possess, and we're doing the best. And so it is somewhat difficult to sit up here and have people take shots at the superintendent, take shots at the board. This is a government agency, and we follow rules for our meetings. And we don't discuss things that haven't been seconded. And that's nobody's fault unless you want to give a call to Robert and his rules. Okay? Because your complaint lies there if you don't like how the meetings are run. But it is difficult, and I believe there is a right decision, and hopefully that's the one I'm going to make. And if I'm wrong, I'm sure you guys will let me know. So I will appreciate that. Is there any more discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I didn't hear you.
I know, because you're correct, Mr. Griffin. We did close because the law told us to close. The government told us to close. They said close it. They did give us guidance. You're correct. The guidance is there that we can legally open. Is it, like I said, the thing to do? We need to go by what we are given, even though whatever my personal feelings are, and I have listened to many people, everybody is correct in this instance, and we have been giving the guidance legally, so we must abide by those rules. So, yay, I will. So, aye.
Well, then I'll call it 5-0. And seeing no further business, we will adjourn the special board meeting at 6:48. Thank you.